Big Safe.
Fat Man Scoop, Brooklyn Clan. What's up, y'all? This is Fat Man Scoop. And right now, you watching the sensei, the number one, the king, my dude, Big Brando. He taught me, personally, me, Fat Man Scoop. All you gotta do is keep your mouth closed and your ears open. Listen to the man talk. That's knowledge personified right there. And I wouldn't trust nobody else but my dude, Big Brando. And I said it. Fat Man Scoop, Big Brando. Let's go.
What's happening, everybody? Boy Big Brando, and today let's talk about a mistake I made trying to be somebody that I'm not. Now, the reason I'm making this video, and I might have shared this already in a BSing with Brando episode, can't really remember, but I had a buddy of mine reach out to me and say they just wanted a little bit of advice on starting a brand. Now, my homeboys hit me up for this kind of stuff to pick my brain all the time, and I have no problem being brutally honest with a lot of them. This conversation also sparked an old memory. I said, man, I gotta make a video about this because I talked it out with him. So let me explain my homeboy's situation first. So he wants to start a brand. He's very, very much a fan of the brand Fear of God. Buys their clothes, heavily influenced by their clothes, and all of his ideas stem from Fear of God. His target audience in his head is people that wear Fear of God. Somebody just like him who's a super fan, and he feels that he can actually create something that's similar to that other people like him would be into. That's usually every single person out there. That's their mentality. You want to start a brand, you're influenced by another brand, you're like, man, I could do something like that. I would like to do something like that and create clothes like this for more people that are just like me. Nothing wrong with that, but the reality of everything is it's very hard to get a super fan of a certain brand to buy into a brand that looks like your favorite brand. Why would you buy the carbon copy when you're already buying the real thing? That's what it comes down to. So if somebody's a fan of Supreme and somebody is big on buying Supreme, they are not going to buy your box logo when they're already buying real Supreme box logos. It just doesn't work out that way. Same exact thing goes for creating a brand that's like Fear of God, inspired by Fear of God, using the same colorways and the same cut t-shirts and the same prints and stuff like that, and all you're doing is just switching up the text or switching up the brand name. Majority of the time, somebody that already buys Fear of God is not going to be buying into a brand that looks like Fear of God. You see what I mean? And that's a hard pill to swallow, right? Because you're almost like, it's me breaking my homeboy's dreams of starting a brand that's like Fear of God. And he's like, man, you don't believe in me, or you don't think it'll work? I'm like, no, I don't think it's going to work. The reason I don't think it's going to work is because your target audience is already buying the real thing, Fear of God, who your brand is inspired by. They're not going to buy into the brand that looks like Fear of God. You see what I mean? And I say this because I fell into that same trap also. So if we go back to the early 2000s, some of you probably weren't even born yet. Some of you were very, very young and really don't remember this time, but velour suits were popular. Full velour suit was a big deal early 2000s. Sean John, Rockaware, these dudes were making velour suits, and it was a big deal. I was a fan of velour suits. I wore them. I bought them. Brand new mid-top Air Force Ones. Velour suit with a white t-shirt. Man, that was like the coolest outfit to have. So imagine this. Velour suits are very much popular. Everybody's buying them. There's a few brands that everybody's wearing. And then you got my dumb ass. I go to downtown LA and I try to find blank velour suits. Because I'm like, all right, if everybody's buying velour suits, easy call. I could start selling velour suits too. So I go to downtown LA. I find me a wholesaler. And I get my brand name embroidered onto these velour suits. Now I think people that buy Sean John and Rockaware velour suits are going to be interested in buying my velour suits. That was the thought process. So I remember getting the standard all black with the white piping. I had the small white text logo on the jacket and on the hip. And I'm like, all right, cool. Because this is something I would wear, right? Black velour suit, white piping, white t-shirt, white Air Force Ones, easy call. Naturally, I order a bunch of them, get everything embroidered up, in business. Not one person buys a velour suit from me. Not one person. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, my velour suit looks exactly like this Sean John velour suit. Why is nobody buying mine? Because nobody wants to buy the carbon copy of the real thing. Nobody does. That's just not how it works. Didn't understand that back then. My thought process was, everybody's wearing velour suits. I'm gonna jump into this velour suit thing, put my brand name on it and sell them just like everybody else. Nobody was buying it. Nobody cared about my velour suits because people were buying the real thing already. You know what I mean? And as I'm explaining this story to my homeboy, and even he didn't buy one of my velour suits when I was selling them, started to understand what I was talking about. And I'm not saying that everybody's a carbon copy, or I'm not saying you're just trying to copy another brand and get on, but people are heavily influenced by the brands that they're a fan of. If you're a fan of a certain brand and you're an actual customer and you enjoy wearing the clothes, it is very easy to be influenced by that brand because you like that brand, you like their ideas, you like what they put out, and you're like, oh man, I could put out something similar to this because this is what I like. It won't say their brand name, it'll say my own brand name, but I like the colorways that they use, I like the fit of the t-shirts that they use or the cut and sew that they use. Let me do it too. It happens. A lot of clothing brands get started that way. The hard part is getting that core audience that's into that brand just like you are to buy into your brand now. You're basically saying, all right, this big group of customers right here that's buying this brand, I need them to buy my brand. This is my core audience. This is my target audience. These are the people I want to sell my clothes to. I need to get them to buy my clothes now. And if your brand is heavily influenced by this other bigger brand, it's going to be a hard sell to try to get them to come over and shop with you. That's just how it is. And I'm not saying everything out there is brand new and original. Every brand starting out is like that. But just know it's an uphill battle. And if you're willing to battle it out, go for it. From my experience, it's never worked out for me, and velour suits was just one of the examples. I got a million other examples of me being influenced by something else and trying to do what somebody else was doing and just failing like crazy, wasting money, wasting time, and it's my own fault. You know what I mean? Because I get caught up in that hype. I get caught up in being a fan of something and then saying, hey man, I know how to make that, or I could do that, or I could sell that. Then it just doesn't work out. So I'm not a dream crusher. If my homeboy wants to start that brand that is influenced by fear of God, 100% back him. But I am, as a homeboy, gonna let him know what the risk is and what the reality is. If he's willing to battle it out, cool, nothing wrong with that. But I'm also not gonna be a yes man to my homeboy and be like, yeah, you should do that, waste all that money, waste all that time. No, he's coming to me for advice and I'm gonna give him my advice. And I'm going to tell him how hard that's going to be and why I think it's going to be hard. It's up to him if he wants to listen. It's up to him if he wants to take my advice. But he came to me for advice, so that's what I'm giving it to him. You know what I mean? Like if somebody came to me with a good idea, I'd be like, man, that's a fucking brilliant idea. But if somebody came to me with a bad idea, I have no problems telling them that that's a bad idea and why I think it's a bad idea. Does that mean my advice and my opinion is the law? No, that's just my own opinion. That's how that works. And I could be wrong. Everything that I'm saying to my homeboy could be false and people might love his ideas and love his clothes. But that's the risk he has to take to see it through. And I'm never the dude that stands back and like, man, I told you so. No, because as a friend and as a homie, I want to see anybody win. I want to see somebody win. So if it does good, I'll congratulate him. And if it does bad, I'm there to help him figure out the next move. I'm not going to dog him out. I'm not going to say I told you so. I'm helping him brainstorm the next idea because I want to see him win. See what I mean? So if you get stuck in this same boat and you're influenced by another brand, just know that it is a very hard sell to try to get a fan of one brand to buy into a brand that's mimicking everything that they're doing. It's a very hard sell. But if you can do it, cool. You'll never know unless you try. Alright, if you got any questions, make sure you leave it in the comments. Follow me on Instagram, BigBrandoTV. Catch you guys on the next one, man. Yeah.